Good morning and welcome to Nine's Morning News. This Friday, evacuations in Beirut as Donald Trump insists he wants to be involved in the selection of Iran's new leader. Thousands of Australians desperate to flee the Middle East, so why are flights arriving half empty? Questions over Australia's involvement in the region as the Prime Minister confirms 3 Australians were on board a US submarine that sank an Iranian warship. A coroner blames the death of a Canadian tourist on a dingo attack. We'll take you live to Queensland for the latest. Tempers explode in the AFL season opener as new swan Charlie Curnow comes back to haunt the Blues. It's an F1 frenzy as thousands of fans descend on Melbourne ahead of a high-octane weekend. Plus, Britney Spears arrested, reportedly on suspicion of drink driving. Coming up, the brutal statement from her own management.
This is 9 News with Alison Piotrowski.
Tensions are at boiling point in the Middle East as hundreds of thousands of people try to evacuate the region. Israel's Defence Force continuing to target Iran and Lebanon overnight, striking Hezbollah. It comes as US President Donald Trump says he must be involved in picking Iran's new leader. Europe correspondent Mimi Becker is in Israel and she begins our coverage.
The IDF warns this conflict will now enter its next stage, and that's as the Israeli military also issues urgent evacuation orders in southern Beirut with the message, save your lives and evacuate your homes. Hundreds of thousands of people rushing to flee the area with the threat of ongoing attacks as Israel targets Hezbollah. The Israeli military also continuing to strike Iran, while President Donald Trump says he must be involved in picking the next leader of Iran. This comes as the war and conflict widens. Today, Azerbaijan officials saying their international airport was struck by an Iranian drone. All this as evacuation flights ramp up across the Middle East as thousands of people still try to make their way back to Australia and other countries. Pictures today on board a flight from the UAE to Sydney, but it's only half full with row after row of spare seats, despite DFAT saying it is working with the commercial airlines to ensure and help bring Australians back. Sir Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom has stood by his decision to not get involved in the initial strikes, despite now sending 4 more fighter jets to Qatar to help with defensive operations.
While the region has been plunged into chaos, my focus is providing calm, level-headed leadership in the national interest.
In Tel Aviv, despite the ongoing missile threat, things are slowly starting to reopen and return. People allowed to go back to work while schools will remain closed with the ongoing threat.
Meantime, there are new reports coming out of the United States that America's largest military base in the Middle East was minutes from an Iranian airstrike. US correspondent Reid Butler joins me now. Good morning, Reid. This could have been catastrophic.
Ali, this military base in Qatar houses 10,000 Americans, and it came literally within 2 minutes of being hit by Iranian bombers. Thankfully, the Qatari Air Force was able to intercept those planes and shoot them down, but it just gives you an idea of how volatile this situation is and how many lives are at risk here. But the war, it will continue to rage on with or without congressional approval. Today, for the second day in a row, a resolution put forward by a Democrat was shut down by Republicans in Congress. The resolution would have curbed Donald Trump's power to use military force in Iran without congressional approval, but it was voted against, this time in the House of Representatives. The US government, meantime, is not focusing on those kinds of close calls that we saw in Qatar, but focusing on the perceived successes of this military operation, Epic Fury. We have heard today that since day one, military blasts, military missile launches from Iran have actually decreased by 90%. And we also heard from the US President Donald Trump a short time ago, and he seems to suggest that what remains of Iranians' leadership is actually picking up the phone and trying to get in touch with him. Have a listen.
They're tough and they want to fight. And they're calling, they're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late.
Iran is hoping that we cannot sustain this, which is a really bad miscalculation.
Polls aren't great for the US president though, Ali, and we've seen the White House PR machine in overdrive. This video posted by the White House is under fire because it features clips from Call of Duty and other kind of cartoons. It's spliced in with vision from the war. So people are pretty angry about that. So we'll see what happens. But it all comes down to the midterm elections later this year, and that could seriously impact Trump's chances at those crucial votes. Ali?
Definitely interesting to see SpongeBob SquarePants featured in those White House posts. Reid Butler in Los Angeles. Thank you, Reid. Meantime, staying on the war, and the Prime Minister has just confirmed 3 Australian soldiers were on board the US submarine involved in a major strike against Iran. Federal Politics reporter Amanda Kopp joins us now live. Good morning, Amanda. This raises some concerns about Australia's involvement in the conflict.
Yeah, it really does, Ali. This confirmation comes after 9 News reported last night that a small number of Australian soldiers were aboard this US submarine in the Indian Ocean. That boat attacked an Iranian warship on Wednesday off the coast of Sri Lanka in a major expansion of the conflict with Iran. We understand that these soldiers were aboard the US submarine as part of a training rotation for AUKUS, but it does raise questions, as you say, over Australia's close alliance with the US and how the AUKUS nuclear submarine deal could inadvertently drag Australia into this conflict with Iran. Here was the Prime Minister making this rare confirmation in the last hour.
I can confirm that there were 3 Australian personnel on board that vessel. I can confirm also, though, that no Australian personnel have participated in any offensive action against Iran.
This is a conflict that is intensifying and widening. And we are concerned about that.
You go into an alliance saying we're going to pool effort, we're going to pool our forces, we're going to have integrated teams, and the more vetoes or the more layers of checks and balances you put on that, the less reliable you are as an ally.
The opposition leader Angus Taylor, for his part, hasn't ruled out supporting a move to have Australian troops on the ground in Iran. He was on the Today Show earlier.
You would support that boots on the ground. Is that what you're saying?
That if a proposal is put, we will give it serious consideration.
So, Ali, it is an uncertain time for the world and here at home.
It certainly is. Amanda Kopp in Canberra. Thank you, Amanda. Well, hundreds of relieved travellers have been welcomed with tears after they stepped off 2 more repatriation flights from the Middle East. Selena Zhang has more from Melbourne Airport.
There's been a lot of tears and a lot of hugs here at Melbourne Airport this morning. Overwhelming relief from the passengers who've been stranded in the Middle East for the last couple of days, and relief as well from their family members who've been waiting anxiously all this time. The Emirates flight from Dubai landed here at Melbourne Airport just after 6 this morning, and many of the passengers on board have told us how they've had to deal with multiple flight cancellations, and they are just so glad to have finally touched down.
Yeah, it's been very stressful. And it's her first time out of home, her first time
living
out of Australia.
Yeah.
We thought she was safe until she wasn't.
It was a scary experience, but the UAE government and the Australia government did really well in bringing us home safely.
Around 270 passengers were on board this repatriation flight, so it was only around half full, and there are around 24,000 Australians in the UAE at the moment still. For most of these passengers who've gotten off this flight this morning, they've told us how it was incredibly distressing and scary to watch those missiles being intercepted over Dubai, but for some of them, they said that Dubai actually felt quite safe.
I felt safe there, which is strange thing to say, but I did feel safe there.
Felt completely safe over there, so yeah, we saw and heard things, but nothing to worry about.
Another repatriation flight is expected to arrive in Melbourne tomorrow morning, and the Foreign Minister has confirmed 2 more will land in Sydney and 1 more in Perth over the next 24 hours.
There was a powerful moment last night at the SCG before the Swans took on the Blues. The AFL season opener paused to honour victims of the Bondi attack and the heroes who risked their lives to stop it. Among them was Detective Cesar Barraza, the officer who helped take down the gunman, seen publicly for the first time since that day. Well, still ahead on 9's Morning News, breaking news, the tragic finding into the death of a Canadian backpacker on Gari. We are live with the details. Plus, Britney Spears' toxic arrest, the pop star allegedly driving under the influence of alcohol. And drivers are hitting the track for the first practice ahead of the Australian Grand Prix. This is Nine's Morning News, live on 9 and streaming on the go on 9 Now. We'll be right back after this. Let's go to breaking news in Queensland now, where a coroner has determined the cause of a Canadian tourist's death on Gari. Let's go live to Lily Greer in the Brisbane newsroom. Lily, we now know the 19-year-old was killed by dingoes.
Yeah, Ali, this is what so many people had suspected was the tragic reality, and that has now been confirmed. A coroner saying that 19-year-old Piper James died as a result of a drowning that happened as a result of injuries sustained in a dingo attack. The teenager's body was found near the SS Mahino shipwreck on a beach on Gari, an island off the coast of Queensland. She was found by passers-by with significant injuries, surrounded by dingoes. Now, the investigation into her death is still ongoing, and we know the Queensland government has culled a number of these animals in the aftermath of the attack. But Ali, tragically, this news comes just days after friends and family back home in Canada, in British Columbia, farewelled the 19-year-old at a funeral service.
And we are thinking of them. Lily Greer in Queensland with that breaking news. Thank you, Lily. Well, North Queensland has been hit with heavy rain overnight as a tropical low approaches the coast. Some areas recording more than 400 millimetres. A boat operator in the Daintree losing his vessel after it ripped from its moorings. The tropical low is expected to cross the coast near Innisfail today before tracking south, forecast to reach Brisbane by Sunday. The Weather Bureau says the system is now unlikely to develop into a tropical cyclone. Some Victorian police stations will be shut up to 5 days a week as the force experiences a staffing crisis. As Isabella Stashkovsky reports, a major reduction in station hours is about to take place.
Simply put, there aren't enough police officers in Victoria. The force is right now going through its biggest vacancy crisis ever. At the moment, there are more than 1,500 positions that need to be filled. Victoria Police is prioritising having boots on the ground, police out on patrol as opposed to behind the desk. This means more stations across the state will face reduced hours or closures, with some inner city locations shut up to 5 days a week. Richmond and West Melbourne the only 24/7 locations servicing the CBD and surrounds. Fluctuations in closures are expected too. Victoria Police admitting variations are likely to arise from things like unexpected leave. The advice is to check online to see if your local station is in fact open. The situation is already hard. Only recently I've been speaking with Melburnians who've been trying to get in touch with their local police station for days. The force says it is looking at organisational changes, solutions such as potentially hiring ex-cops to man stations. These further closures and reduced hours are expected to come into effect from March 22.
Police are investigating a series of suspected arson attacks in central Queensland overnight. CCTV has captured one person setting a bin alight outside a gym in Yeppoon, with at least 5 other businesses nearby also damaged by fire. A 33-year-old woman is being questioned by police. Britney Spears has been arrested for driving under the influence after Highway Patrol said they noticed a car swerving erratically in Southern California. Police audio caught that moment.
Black sedan, erratic braking, swerving and driving with no taillight.
The 44-year-old singer's representative says hopefully this can be the first step in a long overdue change that needs to occur in Britney's life. Well, the Formula One cars and their drivers are ready to roar around Melbourne for the first time this season. As Amber Johnston reports, all eyes will be on hometown hero Oscar Piastri.
Well, the Formula One season is well and truly back, and as you can see behind me, the fans have certainly turned up today as the cars take to the Albert Park track for the very first time today. The Australian Grand Prix has sold out across all 4 days, with organisers expecting to smash last year's record crowd of 465,000 fans for the whole weekend. There was a fan frenzy at the Middle Park Hotel, with Melbourne boy Oscar Piastri popping in for a pint last night before he gets down to business. This year, it's new cars, new regulations and new stories to be written, and some drivers couldn't wait until practice to show off. Aston Martin has already indicated its drivers Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll won't finish the Australian race because of fears vibrations in the new cars could cause nerve damage to the drivers. Meanwhile, Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton has said he wants the Australian Grand Prix to stay as the season opener. The excitement is already at fever pitch down here, and we're not even halfway through the weekend. And, important note, the Formula Ones take to the track at 12:30 today, so you certainly do not want to be missing that action.
Coming up on Nine's Morning News, fifth time's a charm. Billionaire James Packer announces his new engagement. Plus, Aussie surfer Stephanie Gilmore immortalised as a Barbie doll for International Women's Day. And Charlie Curnow on target in his first game for the Swans as things get physical in the AFL season opener. You're watching Nine's Morning News, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. The Swans have begun the 2026 AFL season with a huge 63-point win over Carlton in a fiery clash at the SCG. Tempers exploded when former Blue turned Swan Charlie Curnow kicked his first goal for Sydney, one of three he booted in the match.
We knew it was going to boil at some stage and something was going to happen, and it was just, I suppose, a credit to our guys. We didn't overreact and give away free kicks or do anything. It was the other way.
The Swans' victory was sealed in a stunning 12-goal third quarter. For the second straight year, Parramatta has been humiliated by the Storm in round one of the NRL. The 52-4 thrashing at Amy Park in Melbourne, showing the Blue and Gold's rebuild still has a long way to go.
We came in confident and we got our pants pulled down, so we'll have to go back to the drawing board, see if we can get better.
Some really good lessons, and we'll just have to have a big schooner of reality and move on.
To make matters worse for the Eels, forward Jermaine Hopgood is facing at least a one-match suspension for a high tackle early in the game. The Matildas have secured their place in the knockout stages of the Women's Asian Cup thanks to a comfortable 4-0 win over Iran. Mary Fowler celebrated her first start for Australia since an ACL injury almost a year ago by scoring a first-half goal.
I had a little moment to myself walking out there where I was like, it's nice to be back and to just think back on the rehab and appreciate the time that, has been away. So yeah, I was grateful for the moment, but then just switched on for it.
So great to see her back. The Matildas must win Sunday's clash against South Korea in Sydney to top their group. Tottenham is in serious danger of being relegated from the Premier League for the first time in almost 49 years. Spurs have slumped to another defeat, losing 3-1 at home to Crystal Palace. The loss leaving them just 1 point above the relegation zone with 9 games left in the season. NBL and Melbourne United are still alive, knocking out the Jack Jumpers to move into the play-in game. Finn Delaney equalling his career high of 33 points to lead United to an 82-68 win. The victory setting up a sudden death clash with Perth tomorrow. The winner will face the Kings in a playoff series. Australians who view adult content online, play R-rated video games or chat with explicit AI companion bots will, from Monday, have to prove they are 18 years or over. They'll otherwise be locked out of platforms showing the explicit material. The new e-safety code will bring in age verification methods, including photo ID, credit card checks and facial age estimation to protect children from online harm. Well, could it be fifth time lucky for billionaire James Packer? The 58-year-old announcing his engagement to former girlfriend Kylie Lim after the pair rekindled their romance. He's declared he's the happiest he's ever been and is looking forward to their future together. Well, Aussie surfer Stephanie Gilmore has received a unique honour reserved for truly iconic women. The 8-time world champion now has her own Barbie doll, released ahead of International Women's Day on Sunday.
That is the coolest. Look at her wetsuit. Wow. Surfer Barbie. Let's go.
Gilmore joins Mattel's dream team of female superstars alongside legends like Serena Williams. Well, stay with us. Your weather details are next as we take a look at a gloomy Friday in Melbourne. Welcome back to Nine's Morning News. Taking a look at the weather now. Around the country today, Brisbane, showers and a top of 30 degrees. Partly cloudy for Sydney, reaching a top of 29. 30 degrees in Canberra. Melbourne, partly cloudy and a top of 25 for you today. 23 degrees in Hobart. Mostly sunny in Adelaide and a top of 27 degrees for you. A very hot 36 degrees for Perth and a balmy 29 degrees in Darwin for your Friday. And that is Nine's Morning News for this Friday. We will be back at 4 p.m. with your afternoon bulletin. I'm Alison Piotrowski. Thanks for your company, and from the team, we'll see you soon.